Homework number 2. Okay. So let's start first here. So in my case here, I have a economic model where I'm looking at the relationship between the money supply and prices. And so then they constructed a model here where the price level is equal to some factor A times the money supply. And I'm asked to talk about what is the way in which I, as an economist, would collect data to test this relationship. So let's look at the options. Option 1, unlike researchers in the hard sciences, economists cannot study complex relationships using data. In fact, that's all they do is study complex relationships using data. Option 2, an economist would persuade the Federal Reserve to change the money supply to various levels and observe the resulting changes. That could happen, but that would be very destructive for the economy when we'd reached kind of extreme examples. So although it's possible, it's probably not the way we would want to do it. Now we know option 3 is correct, but let's just jump to number 4 and then come back to 3. Economists do not usually develop theoretical models of the economy, but only analyze summary statistics. Well, that's actually not true. We do, most of what we do is developing theoretical models. And then going back to 3, an economist would look for data on past changes. That would be what we do. We look at past, the way things have happened in the past. We look at that data and then describe the relationships. Okay, number 2. We've got the circular flow model. So let's talk about that. So in the circular flow model, we have households and firms. Okay, I don't know why my pencil's not writing. That's probably not a good sign. Sorry, I'm just reconnecting my pencil here. Maybe it's my pencil. It is households and firms. You can put them on either side. You can switch them. I could put households here or here. It doesn't matter. But the idea with the circular flow model is that firms, to make your life more confusing here. Firms sell products, households pay for products. Right, so that's one way in which we can understand the circular flow happening. Firms give us products, we pay for those products with cash. Firms and households sell their labor. Okay, so with that said, let's go back to this here. In this model, well, now we can pretty easily understand this. Households earn income when firms purchase, so you gotta be firms or companies. Firms purchase labor in the factor market. Factor market, that would be labor and capital. Those are the two factors. Yep, that looks to be true here. Okay, then we've got Anna earning $900 a week as a programmer. She uses $8 to order mojito cocktails at, geez, what the, guess she's having a liquid lunch, I guess. She's ordering mojito cocktails at Little Havana. Little Havana pays Yakov $350 per week to wait tables. Yakov uses $400 to purchase software from that company that Anna works at. Okay. So Yakov spends $400 to purchase PC Pros. That'd be the product market, right? They'd be buying, in this case, software, a good. That's why product market is selected. Yakov earns $350 a week working for Little Havana. That'd be Yakov selling his labor. That would be in the factor market. Factors being labor and or capital. Anna spends $8 to order a mojito. That would be a product. She's buying an actual good. Which of the elements in this scenario represent the flow from a firm to a household? From a firm to a household. Okay. Yakov spends $400. That's not correct. Because in that case, the oh, sorry, a flow from a household, but the flow could be dollars, inputs, or outputs. Oh, then that would be everything, which I guess is why everything is selected here. So the reason why originally I was saying no was because I was actually just thinking of it as just dollars. In this case, this question is basically asking where's everything? How could we think of everything as an arrow? If we go back over to, now it's going to make it too messy. Basically, all these could be represented as an arrow in that circular flow diagram. I'll leave it at that. If it's unclear to you why, send me an email and I'll try to talk a little bit more. I just don't want to mess up the circular flow diagram. The most confusing part of this question, and again, I didn't author the question, but the most confusing part of this question would be that it's not only dollars, but it's inputs and outputs. Basically, everything could be described by the circular flow diagram. Okay. Number 3. Suppose Germany can make only 2 goods, corns and tablets. The following graph shows the PPF, A through F. Okay, well, this one, easy. Basically, if it's, go back to write this out here. Doesn't really matter which one I put on the X or Y axis. The point is that I'm talking about the quantities of each product. PPF, bowed outwards. Anything here is going to be inefficient. Why is it inefficient? Because I can get more corn without giving up tablets. I can get more tablets without giving up corn. Or I can get wife calling me. Sorry, I'll pause it. 1 second here. Otherwise, my wife will say it's 10:47 p.m. Scheiding, what are you doing? Okay, let's go back to this. Okay. So, these points inside the frontier are all inefficient because I could have more of some resource of some product without giving up the other. These points, these are all efficient points. We know that they're efficient because there's a trade-off. More of one means giving up the other. And then finally, all points outside here are impossible or unattainable. And that would be all these answers here. And then obviously you can read these definitions. You don't need me to read it for you. Okay, let's look at number 4. Okay, so now we've got Ireland making agriculture and capital. Select either end of the curve to make the endpoints appear. Okay. What am I doing here? Oh, I see. So it's wanting me to show the effects of a time-saving innovation in making airplanes. So all that's going to do is affect the making of airplanes. So what that should do, it's not letting me do it, but this is the correct answer here. I didn't really answer that. As you can kind of see here with the correct answer, it's shifting up the production. Oh, let's just draw it here. So that labor-saving innovation for making airplanes is going to pivot out just the y-intercept, meaning the production of airplanes, but it's not going to really affect corn. Corn is going to remain the same. We could prove that to ourselves here if we said that was like 100 units of corn, whereas before I used to have 80 airplanes. Now I have 86 airplanes. I'm making up these numbers here, but you get the idea, hopefully. Okay, let's look at number 5. Jake is a skilled toy maker who is making trains and balls, 8 hours to produce toys, showing the daily output. Okay, so we've got looks like 2-hour increments here. All trains, all balls, A versus E, 4 and 10. Okay. Oh, so it just wants us to plot out the points. Okay. So, So all that they did here was that for balls, they could take the extreme. And so for point E represents 0 trains and 0 trains and 20 balls. So that would be, sorry, I just don't see. Okay, well, I don't understand why they're making a new, oh, oh yeah, that's really confusing. I was like, why are they making a new PPF? Okay, so now I have a better understanding here. Okay, let me just break this up into a chart here. Okay. So the idea is that for the first part of this, you would have a PPF. And so the idea here is that for this first part, you would just be plotting out the various points. I just label them as A, B, C, D, and E. A, B, C, D, and E referring to this here. So you'd be doing 4 trains, 0 balls, then 3 trains, 10 balls, 2 trains, 16 balls, 1 train, 19 balls, 0 and 20. So 4 and 0 and 0 and 20. Right, and then everything else is kind of a combination of the two. Okay, so that gets us through the blue line. Let's keep going here. Suppose they're making D 1 train per day. What's the opportunity cost of making a second train? So to go from 1 train to 2 trains costs 3 balls because I go from 19 to 16. So hopefully, say 3. Hey, I got it right. Okay. Now, suppose Jake is currently using combination C. What's the opportunity cost of producing a third train? So to go from C to B, meaning to go from 2 to 3, I go from 16 to 10, meaning I'm giving up 10 balls. Why is that not the... Should be. Sorry, unless I'm going too quickly here. Oh, I am, because it's 16 to 10, being 6 balls. And then from the previous analysis, you can determine that as Jake increases his production of trains, his opportunity cost of producing 1 more train, the opportunity cost is going to be increasing. That's our classic law of increasing opportunity costs. So now if he makes twice as many trains as he did before, that's why this green line is now pivoting outwards by twice as much. So whereas it used to be 3, it would then be 6. Where it used to be 4, it would be 8. Where it used to be 2, it would be 4. So that's why the green triangle line is twice as far from the y-intercept as the blue line. So the opportunity cost of making balls, that would be increasing because now they really are producing much more, many more trains. Okay. Number 6. What is a micro econ versus a macro econ issue? I really don't have much to say here. These are the options I was given. I think you might have different ones depending on how this is structured here, but these are the definitions of micro and macro. If we're talking about an individual consumer buying a TV, that's a micro issue. Government decision for big government decisions, like in this case, public projects, that would be a macro issue. Increase of on income on how many phones I buy, that would be a micro question. These definitions are pretty good. I would agree with them. Normative and positive. So here again, the key difference here is we're trying to sort out normative statements, which are opinion-based, and positive, which are more factual-based. So, fifth most common cause of cancer death, well, that's either true or false. So that would mean it is positive. For women aged 60 to 69, breast cancer screening significantly reduces. Well, that would also be either true or false. Now, number 3, doctors should encourage. Should is your kind of key phrase where then you're like, well, I mean, maybe you're like, I don't know, like I don't know, like one of those new age health healers, right? Who thinks like if your chi is in a bad place, that's what causes breast cancer. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just throwing that out there. Well, that would be one where we're talking about a normative statement. And then the fourth one's also using that clause of should. The government should force doctors. That's a normative statement. And that would be, depending on how you think of the relationship of doctors and the government should be to one another. And then finally, Shen and Valerie are both economists. And in this case, they're talking about healthcare, health benefits. And so we're asked, what is the reason why they are disagreeing with one another? Well, they're probably disagreeing because of their values, not really the judgments. Again, we can have disagreements about um, subjective things, not objective things. Difference in values meaning like difference in your perspective. Despite their differences, which of the proposition, which proposition or two economists chosen at random, which ones would be they most likely to agree? The reason why number 3 is being chosen here is because largely the thing that economists agree about the most is that free trade benefits all. And so if we stop people from outsourcing work, that would be the reason why here. It's not that economists don't think the other things, but in this case, the third option is the one thing that economists agree about the most, is that free trade benefits all. Okay, that ends chapter 2, I guess.